Look at me. I don't know what I'm doing. But sometimes you've just got to start anyway. Sometimes you've got to do something to make something happen. So, apparently, that's what I'm doing. How is that music volume, by the way? I did do a few test streams, and I'm pretty sure this volume was fairly good for opening music. But if it is too oppressively loud, someone please let me know and I will do something about it. Okay, so let's have a look at this. Where shall we go? Where shall we go? How about right over here? Okay, isn't that lovely? What a lovely transition. Thank you so much. Okay, so here I am. Hello! Hello! Yes, just talking about the music. How do you like it? I'm a fan, clearly. I picked this just about a year ago now. About a year ago. So I've been planning this for that long, and it's taken me some time to get here. But I do remember sitting down with the mission to choose all my streaming music. I'm sure it was around holiday season, end of last year. And I was perusing the website that I'd seen a lot of fairly successful VTubers had found their music. And I did sit for hours, I believe. Long time, looking through all that lovely music, and this one really leapt out at me. The English translation of the title is Dream of Frost Butterflies. And I do love it. I wondered if it was a little too sweeping and epic for me. I'm a simple being at heart, but I am all about fantasy. And if the concept of fantasy could be summed up in a piece of music, I'm guessing this would come fairly close. I think it would come fairly close. I found the chat and the ending music I'm planning on using on this website as well. So let's have a look. Let's just turn down the lovely opening. Turning down, and let's have a listen to the chat music. Hello? There we are. There we are. That's a little quieter. It's a little quieter. Please feel free to let me know about volumes for anything here. This is my first time streaming after all, so I'm sure it'll take a while. It'll take a while to get the hang of everything. But this lovely music is called Meteor Shower Night. I hope you can hear it. And if you can't, I'm sure I will fix up the volumes by the time I stream again. I'll of course have a link to this music and all the others in the description, so you can check out the composers and their other work for yourself, if you are so inclined. I am nervous. I'm maybe not as nervous as I thought I would be. I think I might just be a little too tired to be too nervous. Tired seems to be a permanent state for me. It has been commented on by people I've passed in the street. So maybe I should do something about that. In which case I am definitely taking the wrong step in life in becoming a streamer. I have done a lot of preparation for today. Lots of notes. Probably too much, because I tend to do too much when it comes to things like notes, as you will find out. Instead of just taking down talking points, I have taken down paragraphs upon paragraphs. So, We'll see how this goes. It's a lot to get through. I hope it doesn't take too long. And I hope it doesn't sound too much like I'm just reading things out, because that's bound to not be particularly interesting. But, stream lengths. Yes, I'm not meaning to do particularly long streams, at least at this point. I'm not really in a sensible situation to do that, but sometimes sense doesn't really factor into these sort of things. We'll just see what happens. Oh dear, not smooth streaming. Errors already. I am sorry about that. Hopefully it won't be too bad. I have a ridiculously long LAN cable and everything. Oh well. Hopefully the recording will be alright anyway. Oh well, I'll work on that more as I do this more, and hopefully we'll have fewer problems. Fewer problems like this in the future. Oh, it started off with such an excellent connection too. How disappointing. Anyway, well, I suppose if you could just let me know, I suppose, let me know if things clear up or if things stay terrible. Oh, where am I typing? Oh dear. Oh well, let's have a look. Over here. I'm sorry. Oh well, let's have a look at this. YouTube's not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. And it was at such good status anyway. Oh dear, just not entirely sure how to troubleshoot this. How unfortunate. How unfortunate. Oh well. Oh, don't really see what else I can do except just keep going. Keep going. Hopefully we can fix things up eventually. Oh dear. Let me just have a quick look back here. Make sure everything's connected up. That seems fine. I'm just going to run away to the router very quickly. I'll be right back. Watch me bob up and down. Oh, well, fiddling around with connections seemed to work. Hopefully things haven't been messed up too badly. Anyway, I haven't panicked yet, so that's something. Okay, let's get a move on while the stream status is excellent. Okay. So it's so lovely to meet you. It's me, Blue Mooney. I'm a fantasy writer and shy magical library in human skin. So you might be wondering what compels a library to put pen to paper and fill her own metaphorical shelves with stories. Or perhaps slightly more alarmingly, you might be wondering how exactly a library procures her own skin. That's a fair thing to be wondering, but my law can wait. We have more pressing issues at hand, or one dominant pressing issue in any case. That being, before I do that, I want to do some typing. So let's jump across over here. Hello? Hello? Where are we? Oh, here we are. I can type. That's not going to be nearly big enough, so let's just make this font. How's that? Oh, still not big enough. Hey, I changed that. Why didn't you change? There we go. Ah! Let's see how we go. So, pressing issue is November. Let's just get that even bigger. November. So, November is happening very soon. A seemingly innocuous month, but some people know better. Some of you may know that November means it's National Novel Writing Month, or NaNoWriMo. And the name's a little bit misleading because it's not just national anymore. There's participants all over the world, brings many, many hundreds and thousands of writers together, inspired by the shared goal of writing 50,000 words in 30 days. And I have made the likely terrible decision to this year attempt it myself. On top of that, I've made the even worse decision to live stream said attempt when I have never live streamed before, and I've certainly never written live before with anyone watching. I normally get anxious if I think anyone's even looking over my shoulder. And I also happen to have a history of being hindered by various forms of writer's block, so probably not my best idea. Anyway, let's just go for it, and let's write a novel in 30 days. Or let's adapt that slightly, change things up. Come on, mouse. Try to write a novel in 30 days. Oops, let's put a little bit of space between those ones. Okay, so I'm not even sure I can hit 50,000. And even if I can, I doubt I can squish a whole novel into so few words when I am a hideous overwriter. It is a problem. A significant problem for me. Oh dear. Also, I haven't actually written anything properly for a while, not in any significant way that I feel good about. Every time I sit down to write after having a bit of time away from it, it feels like I've completely forgotten how to write. And I start to get plagued by the thoughts of, how could I have ever called myself a writer? I can't actually write. What am I thinking? And so on and so forth. And so I haven't written properly in about a month, at least. I had some minor surgery about a month ago, which required a little bit of recovery time. And it's also during that time I decided to do this thing. And then I started preparing for this. And then it was my small one's birthday, and then we had relatives visiting. And so, long story short, not very much got done. Okay, not ready for this, but we'll keep going anyway. We'll be calm, we'll take things one step at a time and try not to take this too seriously. I want to succeed. Of course I do. Success is it's a lovely thing, but it's not always realistic. And when it comes to story writing, I have found that being realistic, while occasionally disheartening, is also vital. Otherwise, this semi-functional human library being thing may just burn out. And you haven't seen burnt out until you've seen a library being burnt out. Just pages flaring up, shriveling into floating motes of ash, shelves collapsing like dominoes. It's all very dramatic and inconvenient. Let's not burn out. Okay, before we get too much further into it, a few public service announcements. As I just mentioned, I have a small one of the human variety. She's still quite young, and it's reasonably possible that at least once while streaming, not necessarily today, but in my streaming life, and probably many times more than once, she may wake up and need me. If this happens, I'll I'll set us on Be Right Back, and hopefully I won't be too long. Apologies. Apologies if my delay has ever returned and on fire. Yes, libraries do not generally like to be on fire. It leads to disasters. Let's not talk about what happened to the poor Library of Alexandria. That was very unpleasant and inconvenient for civilization in general. Let's not have a repeat of that. Okay, so yes. Additionally, I have another small one, this one of the feline variety. She's getting on in feline years and has, in the last few months, become a very, very clingy lap cat when she's never behaved this way before. She's always been affectionate, but never in sort of a cuddly and curling up in your neck and not moving for 5 hours sort of way. But she is now. I'm still a bit itchy from her being curled up on my neck for a while. I had to push her off to be able to start on time. But I don't know if I will be able to. I will do my best every time to start on time. But this feline tends to, as many do, knock precious things off shelves when her needs are not attended to in a timely fashion. So it may eventuate that I have to go and see to her needs at one point as well. But again, we'll just go to Be Right Back and hopefully be right back soon. So, final PSA that I hope will prove entirely unnecessary. Oh, excuse me, sorry. The electricity where I live has once or twice spontaneously cut out. And if this happens, of course, the stream will end rather abruptly. And so if the stream ends rather abruptly, you can assume this is what happened. With any luck, everything will be resolved quickly and we can just start up again. Any other PSAs? I did say that was the last one, didn't I? I cry a lot. Random songs that I like, I cry thinking of random sad stuff I hadn't thought about in years. I cry for reasons sometimes I'm not sure about. So keeping in mind that writing novels is a difficult and stressful going at, be a fair miracle if I make it through without breaking down in tears at least once. Oh dear, now we've gone to no data and now poor. Oh goodness me, that's unfortunate. Let me have another quick fiddle with the connections, see if that helps. I'll jump away for just a moment. Hold on, please. Oh dear, didn't work that time, did it? Still on poor. How unfortunate. I guess again the best I can do at the moment is just keep going and hopefully stuff will get clearer. I'll try to look into this before tomorrow. Oh, back to excellent. This is a little frustrating, jumping between excellent and poor and no data at all. Particularly with my lovely LAN cable. Have you failed me? Please no. I trusted you. I loved you. Oh, LAN cable. Anyway, let's keep going. So, okay. Oh, now I've taken my font down again. Let's lay down some rules for this project. Rules, or maybe aims might be a little better. So, and after doing the rules and aims, we will do a bit of a project overview, and then we'll get a bit more fun. We'll do a novel overview, what I have planned for the thing I'm actually going to be hopefully writing. Then after that, we'll get to the why I'm doing this and desired outcomes. Okay. Oh, also, small aside that's not really a side, I do plan to write the whole first draft on stream. Even if or when I don't finish it during November, I'll keep doing writing streams somewhat less strenuously. Because, every day, particularly when I'm first starting out, is not really sustainable. Hopefully it won't take more than a few months, I say with hope, to finish the first draft. Okay. Rules and aims. Let's get you down here for now. There. A few more. And you come up here. Okay. Rules and aims. Okay, so clearly the first one is to attempt to write 50,000 words in 30 days. So, NaNoWriMo. I have done it before, several times. The first time I did it, I think, was back in 2012. I haven't done it every year since, but a lot of them. And I have won more times than I haven't. When I say win, I mean reach the 50,000 word goal. So yes, I've won more than I haven't, but I was in a very different situation back then. That being said, I did win last year, but I don't really count that as I wasn't writing properly. I was just sort of throwing down notes in a barely readable fashion. So, for me personally, it doesn't really count. So, as I said, I'm not really expecting to reach 50,000 words, and some of the reasons for that are I am a single parent, and hope that's a fairly self-explanatory as a reason why I might have some difficulties in reaching 50,000 words. Excuse me, sorry. Related to that, my energy levels have always been quite low, even before having my small one, and they keep getting lower. Also, I experience some general difficulties when it comes to writing, and I'll go a little bit more into that later. I think I just need to decide from early on to not worry. I hope that's not too much of a cop-out, given I am, live streaming the whole thing, and I worry a little that you feel if I don't do everything in my power to reach 50,000 words, I'm letting you down. Hopefully not. But I have to decide not to worry, particularly if it seems from early on that I'm not going to hit 50,000. I need to not worry. Just keep writing, just keep streaming. Progress is progress, and progress is not perfection. And that leads me to no perfectionism or editing allowed. I've got some bad writing habits. One of the worst is reading what I've just written over and over and over again and tweaking it and trying to get the perfect first draft. Maybe some people can churn out perfection in one pass, but I think most writers will agree that first drafts are awful, and they're meant to be awful. Just gotta get it down now, can edit it later. So hold me to that, if you can. Okay, next, stream every day and only write on stream. As I said, I'm intending to write the whole first draft on stream and write every day. Some lucky days will even have 2 streams, if I can pull it off. As I said, heavy schedule. It is a heavy schedule, and I don't want to burn out, but I would be writing pretty much every day anyway, doing NaNoWriMo. Even if I don't think I'll get much writing done, I'll still do my best to churn out at least a few hundred words every day. And yeah, as I said, live streaming every day isn't sustainable in the long term for me. When November's done, I'll reassess what I think I'm capable of. I'm thinking about maybe 5 streams a week when circumstances allow. But yeah. Oh yes. I forgot a thing, but I remembered it. I forgot a thing and I had already said it. I already said it, that I'm not planning on doing particularly long streams. So what I'm planning throughout November is between an hour and 2 hours at a time, and hopefully no more than 3 hours ever, unless I'm on a real writing roll, in which case I'll probably be silly and keep going. Okay. Last rule or aim that I'm going to try to hold myself to at the moment, I can always add more later, is keep moving forward. If I run into some sort of block and I can't get past it for whatever reason, I'll just mark it and I'll move on and I'll come back later. Other than just moving forward, skipping a scene, I'm probably not going to jump around the story too much. I wrote my first novel all out of order and all over the place, and it was a reasonably difficult process getting it all together and in order and cohesive. And I swore I would never write like that again. And maybe that's one reason it takes me so long to write now, because I just try to keep pushing through in order, even if I'm feeling scenes around about somewhere else. Just keep thinking, I'll just keep moving forward, keep going in order, and it'll be such a wonderful reward when I finally reach that scene. Though I did write that novel I mentioned a long time ago now. Maybe I should think about trying to find a way to write all over the place in a way that works. I should probably try that. It might be helpful. Anyway, moving on. Project overview. Okay, well, we can back you up a little now. Oh, not that much. And, oh, don't do this to me, mouse. Are you running out of battery? I bet you are. At the perfect time. Okay, project overview. Okay, so, as I've been over a few times, 30 days of November to try to reach 50,000 words. As you'll notice, I started 10 days early. Several reasons for this, most notably to get the novel all planned out. Also, as a chance to practice streaming before all the NaNoWriMo stress builds up and hits. So, as we've seen, hasn't gone smoothly so far, so I need to get over these sort of anxieties and troubleshooting and get used to the process and the programs. Okay, so let's keep going. Oh wow, my head just went absolutely everywhere and nowhere all at once. I imagine that's going to happen fairly often. Okay, novel planning, that's where we're at. So, the structure of all this. So today, intro stream. Tomorrow, we're going to start outlining. I'm going to try to do a very rough outline, get into a synopsis, a bit of a chapter-by-chapter plan if possible. Also, might be looking at using some language generation software to get a language together. I'm not going to be using the language very much, but I do need it to get names. I like my people names and place names to sound like they belong together. So that's what I use the language generation software for generally. So characters don't have names yet. I've been saving them, going to name them on stream with all of you. I'm going to be using things like MG for main girl, LB for little bro, until they have names. So the next day after, I forgot what a word is. The next day after outlining. Outlining is a word that I should remember. After outlining is character day. So we'll be building up some character profiles. Given there's generally a fair number of characters, it'll be a fairly intense day probably. So we may skip some characters and jump back during Nano to get some together. Aside from sort of basic profiles, I'd also like to do some character interviews and even try to answer some of the questions in character voice. Probably not all of them, and not all questions for all characters, but we'll see how it goes. I am answering in character voice. Might be a little fun for a few characters, given I can think of one who would just refuse to answer any questions asked of them and remain silently hostile until eventually cajoled or goaded into either tight one-word answers or bursts of rage. At least it shows their character. Okay, I'm a little anxious about doing character interviews because I haven't done them before, but it's probably a good idea at the moment since I haven't had a very long time to get to know these characters yet. Okay, next will be world building day. So that's fairly self-explanatory, I hope. I've heard that some good advice to go about world building is to dedicate a huge amount of effort and thought to maybe 2 or 3 things. And that way, when we mention something about the world in passing, readers assume there's that much thought behind it as well, because we put so much into building other aspects of the world. I haven't decided what my main world building targets will be. The magic system, which isn't really magic but still vital to the story, that'll probably be the biggest one. But I love writing about food, so even if I don't spend a huge amount of time on it, food is going to get some love. Food's going to get some love. So after that, got a bit of a bits and pieces day. I can't think of a better word for it. So just things I want to include in the story, ideas I've had or tropes that will be fun to sprinkle through. And I'd also like to come up with a bunch of sort of little writing prompts to give us a hand, to push us along if we're having a bit of trouble before I decide to skip anything. So just random little events that won't have much impact on the story other than to sort of give it a bit of a kick. The main one I can think of is character trips and falls on face. I have used that one before, so it works. So we'll try to think of some of those. After that, we'll have 4 days of much more detailed chapter by chapter planning, going as in depth as I can without sort of getting bogged down. We'll keep it as plot and character focused as possible. So unless something's vital to the story, we might leave out things that sort of build atmosphere and make the writing lovely, like times of day and weather and big location details. I might have to leave all of that until draft 2. The amazing, distant draft 2 floating somewhere slightly very out of reach at the moment, but hopefully by the end of November it won't be quite so out of reach. Okay. Yes, I'm definitely not going from scratch. I've got quite a lot of notes written already, but they're not in any order, so hopefully too much of these planning days won't be spent just pouring through all of my notes trying to find what I'm looking for. Okay, that brings us to the 31st. So I'll just be taking care of anything that I might have missed. dashing off a few more notes and trying to relax until November hits, and then we'll try to do a little bit of writing before ending stream that day. A few hundred words, hopefully, just start off the first chapter. And the stream structure throughout November, every day is going to be pretty similar. Writing as much as I can, as quickly as I can every day. Trying not to worry. Yeah. As I said, maybe some days we'll have 2 streams, but unsure at the moment. We'll just see how we go. And on the 30th, we'll finish things off. I'll probably have a rest day the next day. And please don't hold me to this yet, but I am hoping to have a celebratory karaoke, maybe on the 2nd of December. And not long after that, some form of chat stream to deconstruct November and the story, to just talk about what writing and streaming will look like post NaNoWriMo. Well, hello, lovely to see you. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you. Thank you, it's so lovely to see you here. Okay, let's get on to this novel overview. It'll probably be more sensible to take us back that way. Back and down and back. Oh no, down. I don't know what I'm doing. Haven't used this software in ages. Okay. So, the novel. Let's look at the novel. Oh, I've never been particularly good about talking, writing with people. I tend to get a little bit overexcited that anyone is interested in what I'm writing. And so, don't tend to be particularly cohesive about it. So, not that I'm wanting to go into too much detail right now. Just basic idea of what it's going to be. I picked this project because I wanted something I hadn't done too much work on yet. I've got an awful lot of projects, but I've thought a great deal about most of them. Oh, no sound. No sound? That's very sad. That is very sad. Oh dear, I'm on full volume. I'm on full volume. Oh dear. So some have sound and some don't. Oh no. I'm so sorry you're having difficulties. Oh dear. Okay. Well, I might just have to assume at this point that the sound is recording. Oh, okay. Thank you so much for letting me know that. Thank you. Thank you. I'm so glad you're receiving sound now. Okay, well, we were talking about the novel, and where were we up to? We were up to which one I picked. Thank you. We were up to, yes, I wanted to pick a project I hadn't done too much work on yet. And so it was between this one that I chose and another one which possibly would have been easier. The other one was an adult urban fantasy, which was probably going to be closer to a novella, so closer to the 50,000 word target. It probably would have made more sense in that respect, but I'm just not feeling it as much, and that's important. Also, the one that I didn't pick is a fairly understated story where not a huge amount happens, and when it does happen, it happens sort of quietly until a certain point. And so when things do happen, it has to happen really well. So probably not the best when I'm going to be going through my most stressful nano. I'd be thinking too much about trying to get things wonderful as opposed to just getting them done. Also, I've been writing quite a noisy story over the past few years, and it might be hard to break out of that. Okay, so the story I picked. This is a YA fantasy dystopia novel. Oh, no working title at the moment, but we'll come up with something as we go. At the moment, I'm just calling it Fate Particles Whip, and we'll get to that in a minute. I'm a little concerned that the story is not hugely original, but I've decided that's okay. I'll have plenty of time to write more original sort of stories, but this is meant to be fun and just sort of help me get a story down and get it finished and out of my head, because I'm such a slow and scatty writer. So many of my stories, I've been working on them for so long, not able to get them finished, and it's incredibly frustrating. Oh, yes. Definitely relevant to these times. It's probably a bit of a contradiction in terms, but I want it to be a dystopia that's not overly overtly dark. Definitely dark, but not nearly as dark as the world is facing at the moment. Not as dark as what we're facing at the moment. How's my end times going? Do you mean when I'll be finishing the stream? Sorry? Oh, no, end times. End times. Dystopia. Apocalypse. I'm so sorry. I'm so slow. I am a slow person. My brain needs to wake up. Context. It exists. I made the context and then completely missed it. Oh, goodness me. Goodness me. No bad at all. That's definitely on my end. Definitely on my end. Okay, so sticking with this novel, again, contradiction in terms. I like my books to be a good time. I'm not really a fan of writing edgy for the sake of being edgy. So although it's a dystopia, a fantasy dystopia, hopefully it'll still be lots of fun. As we're going, if you spot any gratuitous edginess I need to take care of, let me know. I had the Fate Particles idea earlier this year. Just in general, everyone has a certain number of fate particles in their cell or on their person or along those lines, which determines what impact you'll have on the world. There's some definite self-fulfilling prophecy issues there, so the story will probably touch on that. But let's just assume for this story, fate particles do actually determine what someone's impact will be on the world. And so anyone with really high counts would be sort of actual living protagonists, actual chosen ones. And I thought it might be fun to run with this idea, use it to poke a little fun at the beloved chosen ones trope. Ooh, yeah, I get that. It'd be nice to, while being sort of bright, for it to have dark undertones that give it depth. I will do my very best to do that. That's something I would love to do. That would be wonderful if I can pull that off. But if I can't do it, if I can't pull it off during the first draft, hopefully second drafts, third drafts, I might even be able to get some editing. That would be fabulous. Oh, that would be fabulous. Back we go. Okay, so won't go too deeply into the plot. That's what tomorrow is for, but I'm going to be doing 2 points of view, main girl and a little bro. So little bro has the highest fate particle count seen in that city for a very, very, very long time. But main girl's body seems to break down fate particles, eats them up, gets rid of them. So the government of grown-up chosen ones are reasonably terrified of what she could do to them, which is make them ordinary. So terrible. Nothing worse. So the story for little bro is being whisked away to the elite chosen one privilege and extreme pressure. But for main girl, there's imprisonment and study, eventual escape. There's hunts through canyons, floating highways, reality TV, rebellion from within the system, and of course an untimely MacGuffin that derails the whole plot about halfway through. You say. Okay, I said the word MacGuffin. That's going to be you, hopefully. The Blue Moony community name I was hoping to be MacGuffins. I love that term. Some people think it's not an overly flattering term. Some people think MacGuffins, where is it? I looked this up. They think it's an object, device, event, or person that's necessary to the plot and motivation of the characters, but unimportant or irrelevant in itself. I don't believe that. Oh, yes, she just walked in. Yep, there she is. I should have shut the door. Oh, well. Oh, hello. Yep, she's going to be louder now, on the desk. Just don't go on the keys, my darling one. Okay. I may have to shoo her out. Come on, darling. I'll give you more cuddles later, I promise. Out we go. Sorry, honey. Oh, I can't even shut the door properly because of the LAN cable. Hopefully she's not going to push the door open. Anyway, MacGuffins. For me, I believe they are precious entities without which a story... Oh, I phrased that wrong. Precious entities that a story cannot go on without. They cannot become their true form, cannot exist without the MacGuffins. And that's what you are to me. That's what this community will be to me. And I hope I can be something worthwhile to you. That would be wonderful. It's fine so long as she doesn't distract you that much. She was coming close to knocking the microphone over, so probably best to remember to shut the door. Okay. Where are we? That's right. Okay, so I'll talk more about the story clearly tomorrow. I just wanted to give you a bit of an overview. Okay, so that's what we'll be doing throughout all of November. Okay, so this is a big one. Why I'm doing this? Why am I doing this? So, to understand that, it's probably helpful to provide a brief history of my writing life. A brief history of my writing life. So, I can do this. This is why I wrote notes. Okay, so I've wanted to write since I was just an 8-year-old magical library, and I've specifically wanted to write fantasy. I remember planning an elaborate movie-like addition to a kids' fantasy series before I even knew what fanfiction was, and then being utterly miserable, reasonably inconsolable when I realized no one was ever going to actually make them into movies. That series was the Jewel Kingdom series, if you've ever heard of them, by Jana and Malcolm. I still adore them. The last few years they actually released the first 4, re-released them with some fantastic updates. I was so excited when I found them. They're the whole reason I pretty much got into fantasy writing, so I've also got to thank the wonderful person who introduced me to those books. Thank you. I wouldn't be here without you. Okay, so I took that movie-esque idea and adapted it and made it my own when I was about 13. And so that was my first fantasy series, one that I now accept I will never actually write. So I spent the most of the year I turned 13 thinking about almost nothing else besides schoolwork and my very, very minimal social life. Relatable, also had a similar dream, if one day writing something that would make it to the big screen. Yes, it's a dream. Maybe not a pipe dream. Probably a pipe dream. Well, some people get there. Why not us? Maybe one day we can do it. Though, honestly, I think I'd prefer to, at this point, just have the books, and if I could write the books, I think that'll be enough for me. If things go on further, that would be glorious, but I just want to finish my books. I want to write. Given that it's odd looking back how I never actually wrote anything down through this whole time planning my first fantasy series. Never wrote anything down. Dreams are what push us forward. They are. Very well said. 'Tis true. Without dreams, stuff would be even more depressing than it is now. Okay. Anyway, I didn't write anything down the whole time I was planning that story, except maybe character profiles. I just loved making characters. Probably explains why I always have so many in every story. But it was the same pretty much every year of high school. I had another huge story idea, or two, sometimes three, and I spent most of the year thinking about these new ones in addition to the previous ones, building up these multiple massive worlds and still not actually writing anything down except character profiles or random scenes. I just kept everything in my head. Was not a good plan. At university, it was a similar sort of story. True. Yes. Yes, indeed. So, university, similar story, although I managed to stop myself coming up with another huge idea every year. I did start trying to write the big idea I came up with in grade 9 when I was 14. At that time, I still considered it would be my magnum opus. It was nothing hugely special, honestly. Fantasy quest, bit of political intrigue, parallel worlds, none thought out particularly intricately, just very splat, sort of. Splat over a long time, and with much love and dedication, but still nothing brilliant about it. But it was incredibly formative, and I did so much world building for it, and I'll probably wind up mining it for an awful lot of ideas going on. So I did try writing some of it, and funnily enough, it wasn't very good because I'd never practiced writing properly before then. Not to any real extent. I was probably a good writer, at least good enough to do very well in English at school and other subjects that involved a lot of writing. But I wasn't a good writer. I wasn't able to write things that people would actually want to read. And it didn't really strike me as odd then that I hadn't done much writing yet, despite the fact I wanted to be a writer so much. And I guess at the time, I might not have been letting myself write all through school and uni. I'm guessing my subconscious mindset must have been, if you have time to write, you've got time to study. That sort of thing. Excuse me, sorry. So I did an awful lot of study. So much study. And I did very well at school and university, but I did nothing to develop my creative writing skills, which was what I truly wanted to do, and one of the few things that I know I desperately want out of life. So at uni, that was when I did come up with, oh no, she's trying to get back in. No, you don't. Get out of here, darling. Out you go. We'll get cuddles later. Cuddles later. Come on. I'll give you treaties too, I promise. Okay. Door is shut again. Who knows for how long? So I did think of one really big new idea at university. I still remember writing it down. Not much, clearly. Not much. Oh. Back then when I was 16, it hit me that to write better characters and compelling stories, I needed more life experience, and that's the reason I stopped writing myself. Guess it's similar to you needing to study more. That's a good point. I think definitely after some life experience, my writing has improved. I think the practice also. You've got to practice. I should have practiced. I wish I had. Maybe I wouldn't be in this situation now. Oh dear. What was I thinking? Big story. The one I thought of in uni. Writing it down. I remember writing down the basics. All on the one piece of paper. Writing them down. It was evening. I was sitting outside a lecture hall, waiting. And I thought of it. And I wrote down the basics so I wouldn't forget them. Because by then I was probably realizing keeping everything in my head is not the best idea. So that project became my main project at the time. I sort of chose to focus on it because it was a standalone story. Everything I'd thought of before were all massive series. This was standalone, and I thought because of that, I could maybe finish it in a reasonable amount of time once I started actually writing things down properly, and she's back. Honey. And she's gone. I'm just going to try shutting the door again and maybe putting something in front of it. Like a sensible person might do. Or a sensible person might have done the first time this happened. Oh yes, the big one. The big one. Yes, that's apt. So, yes, I thought I'd get it done reasonably quickly once I started writing it and keep it to a reasonable word length. I thought this was going to be my first published work. This is it, the big one, so on and so forth. I started writing it properly, of course, after I graduated. I was working very part-time, waiting to see if I got into a program to teach English in Japan. And so, waiting to hear about that while working part-time and writing this novel. 6 months and about 480,000 words later, I had a book, sort of. It was so long. I got into the teaching program. I spent 2 years in Japan. I actually managed to get a lot of writing done there. I was living alone for the first time, and it worked for me. I rode my bike home after work, picked up dinner, I ate with some ancient YouTube personalities, and then, meaning watching them on YouTube, not with them personally. I should probably be clearer about these things. I would eat watching YouTube, not with YouTube personalities beside me. That would be silly. And then I wrote. I wrote almost every day. I don't remember exactly what I was writing, but I think I was mostly doing rewrites for that novel. I also started writing a short story / novella series. That's really nice. Oh, thank you. That's so lovely of you. Thank you. Yes, short story, novella series. I only asked a few people to read my writing at the time. Oh wait, that's really nice. Sorry, you're commenting on something that happened to me, not something I said. Again, context exists. Again, I set the context, and again, completely over my head. I'm so sorry about that. Oh, okay, so only asked a few people to read my writing at the time, people who weren't related to me and probably reasonably biased. And I remember receiving fairly harsh criticism. And I also don't remember any of it being particularly constructive, just sort of along the lines of tactfully saying it's not very good. And it's possibly my memory and hurt feelings messing with things when I'm remembering that. But anyway, it probably wasn't very good. I also started writing 2 more novels while I was living in Japan, one which I kept going with and one that's probably been eternally shelved. Okay, got back from Japan, and I thought the big novel was in a fit state to send around to agents. It was not. It was not. Perhaps there just wasn't very much information out back then on how to best approach agents, or maybe I was just too excited and didn't look closely enough, as to be expected with your first work. Yes, probably. Probably. There's still always the hope that maybe you're just innately really good at this. Nope, definitely not. Yes, I probably just didn't look hard enough for information to do with querying agents. You'd think a library would be better at research. It also came as a surprise to me that novels of 400,000 plus words by first-time authors just weren't a thing. They were not allowed. Nobody wanted to see them. So I am very glad now that it never got picked up. Mostly because I'm not a fan of my writing style at the time, clearly. I had improved some, but it was still very unnecessarily flowery, among other things. I still love the story. I'd love to fix it up one day. And I've been having a lot of ideas for it over the years. It's been stewing now for well over a decade, so it'll be a lot of work when I do eventually get back to it. Also, it probably would have helped if I'd sent it around to some agents out of my country as well. As you may be able to tell from my voice, I'm based in Australia. And the Australian agent scene, at least in relation to fantasy, isn't huge. It's not huge. The year I came back from Japan, that's also the year I first entered NaNoWriMo. It was with a cute little idea I'd had while living in Japan, and I smashed the target. I got about 80,000 words in the 30 days, and I did just about 10,000 of them just on the last day because I was so pumped. It was amazing. Story was not. Story needs work, like most of my things. Also been stewing for a while. It'd be lovely to get back to it again, but probably not a priority. But very formative wonderful writing practice. And it felt really good. Yeah, and the only reason I was able to reach 80,000 words was because I was unemployed at the time and living at home with zero responsibilities, so I could just go. Oh dear, that can't happen anymore. But that's okay. That's okay. So, year after that, I got an office job. It was very sensible. A sensible idea. On the creative side of things, though, it was a terrible idea. I was stuck there courting misery for years. Hooray! So many people's story. I'm so sorry. Oh, I forget whether it was that year or the year after. I started sending around the novel I started in Japan. That's right. I set a target to finish it before I started the office job, and I think I just managed to finish the first draft before I started working. Okay. This time I sent it around both Australian and UK agents, and I actually got some very minor interest, which was, astronomically incredible at the time. I got a full manuscript request, followed by a resounding no. Again, probably a good thing, the same overly flowery problem. But I have been working quite a lot on this particular, I'll call it my second novel, and I'll call my first nano novel my third novel. The big one's the first one, clearly. But I've been working on second novel quite a lot ever since. Still lots to do, but not as much as other projects. I actually had the original version up online on a writing site called Inkit for a while in its previous form and under another name. But I didn't know anything about how to self-promote, so nothing really came of it. I haven't sent any novels to agents since then. It's been a long time since I've queried, and mostly because I haven't had anything I've considered complete enough or good enough to send around. So, while I was working in the office, I did NaNoWriMo pretty much every year, and I won almost every year. I did do a fair amount of writing while I was working full-time, coming up with lots more ideas that I adore and taking a ridiculous number of notes, writing hundreds of thousands of words that wound up getting scrapped. So, good for practice, bad for self-esteem. And then I started writing a fanfic. A magical boy fanfic. And that's the most excited I've ever been about writing. Remember when I first started, I got out about 25,000 words in just one weekend. And I was writing massive chapters. People were reading it. It was getting wonderful comments, amazing fan art. I was sort of dizzy with it. I'd never had so much positive feedback before. I'd never actually read much fan fiction. I'd definitely never written it before, and I haven't really read much even now, so I'm not really adjusted to fanfic culture and such. I'm so happy I started the fic. I never would have settled into my real writing style without it, but it didn't take long for me to start getting ridiculously stressed about it. I never set a release schedule, which is good because I never would have been able to abide by it. Ooh, you really write a lot. When I write a lot. And when I don't write a lot. I'm a library of extremes. There is no middle ground. Middle ground would be so comfy. But I love to write. Makes me feel a bit sick sometimes when I'm not getting any done. bit sick, very sick when I'm not getting anything done. So hopefully this project will be good in that respect at least. Even if I get nowhere near finishing it, at least I'll be writing. Okay, so the fic, no release schedule, but I was starting to panic whenever it took too long to write a chapter. It felt like I was letting people down. And, I adore the story. And when the writing went well, it was a very euphoric experience. Oh, another important thing to remember for me is pretty much the same time that I started writing the fic, I started going through the process of trying to have my small one, and that's a bit of a journey all on its own, on top of everything else. Excuse me, sorry. So, progress on writing the fic slowed, and when my small one finally came, it pretty much ground to a halt, and she wasn't the only reason for that. I also had the realization that I'd spent pretty much the last 4 years of my life devoting all of my effort and energy and creativity and spare time to writing this one fan fiction. And I'm definitely not saying anything against fics or fic writers, but for me, given I'd wanted to be a professional writer since I was 8, it was a slightly devastating realization. But the big problem is that I love this story so much. I'm not sure if it's my magnum opus, but I'm pretty sure it's my heart story, and I can't ever leave it. And so I started very anxiously beginning the process of trying to adapt this fanfic into an original work. And that's what I've been doing for the last few years. At the time when I started trying to rework it into an original work, I was still sort of clinging to the idea of traditional publishing. I'm clinging to that less so now, but, I'd probably succumb if any company miraculously offered me a deal. So I decided I needed a first book in the series that could stand alone. So I took the first 3 chapters of the fic, which is roughly those 25,000 words, and I've written so much new content to make the first book that my first draft is almost 230,000 words. I've really got to stop doing that. But I guess if I'm going to be publishing online, who cares about word length? Besides me, when I can't finish anything because it's all too long. And I'm a perfectionist who writes at a snail's pace, who has no spare time. I've been working on the second draft of this for the last year, hoping to bring down the word count, but that hasn't really happened yet. And can't really afford professional editing, so the series, when it's eventually finished, will probably have a massive first book and a massive last book, and hopefully the rest won't be quite so intimidating to write. You know about webtoons and web novels. They can go on to become big and become legit works. I know, yes, thank you. Thank you for bringing that up. I have done a fair amount of research into these platforms, and I've sort of semi-settled on the path I'd like to take. I'll talk more about that another time, but yes, initially publishing online will be the direction I'm planning to take with all my work at this point. Okay, so I was hoping to finish that book before the end of the year, but that's probably not going to happen now that I'm doing Nano. But I'm fairly close. Trying to feel positive. Do feel positive half the time about it. Because I think it's good. Could even be better than good. I hope. Okay, so big problem right now. An audience. I need to actually share my writing, but I have nothing finished that I'm comfortable with sharing. As I've said a few times, everything I've written needs a lot of work, but I haven't been working on them because I've been focusing all my writing time to get book one of, I'll call it my magical series, to get magical book one finished. Short stories would be ideal, but it's the same sort of thing. I've been focusing all of my available writing time on trying to pull novels together. And so, I've written down a few short story ideas, but I've finished very few. After the Nano project, I'll probably try to edit the few short stories. Oh, excuse me for a moment, sorry. I think I need some water. Water time. And I'll knock my microphone at the same time. How about that? Thank you. Lovely water. For your hydrating properties. Very grateful. Okay. Yes. After the NaNoWriMo project, I will probably try editing some of the short stories that I do have on stream and eventually start writing them on stream too. That was my original plan, to get comfortable writing on stream gradually with short stories, because that would be a sensible thing to do. Look who's gone and decided to hurl herself in the deep end instead. Clever. Oh, that's right. Related point in no order whatsoever. I came second in a writing contest once, a few years ago. One of the few I ever entered. So hopefully that's a good sign that my writing is kind of good now, after years and years and lots of practice. Still didn't get me writing more short stories though, clearly. So, what was my brain doing when it decided writing a nano novel live would be a good idea? It was probably thinking along the lines of, once I finish it and edit it, that's it. I've got something. I have a book to share. People could read it. Wow. And, if people read that one and they have interest in it because, they might have watched a couple of streams while it was being written, maybe that's a bit interesting, hopefully. And if people are interested in that story, maybe when I finally start finishing my big projects, my heart stories and my magnum opuses, magnum opus, what's the plural on that? I don't know. When I finally start finishing my big projects, that there may be interest then as well. That's my hope, anyway. And so far as streaming is concerned, I guess I've been, I suppose it's not the best term, but I've been maybe a casual VTuber fan since the debut of Hollow Myth. There's a lot of VTubers that I enjoy and respect and admire, but there's no one VTuber I watch all the time. I don't have an Oshi. The closest I ever came to that was with Tsukumo-sana. She was lovely. Oh, I also won a competition back when I was like 7, 8. They published a story in a compilation of short stories. Lost the book though. That's sad, but that's so wonderful. That's amazing. Belated congratulations. Oh, that's so cool. Thank you for sharing that. That's amazing. Wow, you must have been a really good writer right from early on. I'm very proud of you. Oh yes, VTubers. There's a couple of the the Hollow Stars boys that I quite enjoy, and a few larger indies, a few smaller indies. And probably almost goes without saying, I look up to Merriweather the most because he is the most successful VTuber writer in the game. I'm definitely not coming for your crown. It looks too good on you. But I'm hoping there's plenty of room for more of us. I hope there's room for more of us. It'd be nice if VTubing can branch out more to include more creative fields for more people. That would be lovely. Okay. But as for me, Blue Moony, streaming, I guess I started thinking early last year about combining streaming and writing and thinking maybe that could work. And as someone very close to me pointed out, I was going to be trying to break into one oversaturated market by attempting to be successful in another oversaturated market. And that person was definitely right. But still, that's when I started actively wanting to be a VTuber. And it's taken me a very, very long time to work up to it. I've been playing around with streaming software for a long time, trying to get a solid handle on it, praying for your success. Thank you so much. That's so lovely. Me too. Me too. Oh, so yes, messing around with streaming software doesn't hurt trying. No, it definitely doesn't hurt trying. You're right. I will try. So yes, been toying with the streaming software, trying to get used to it so the amount of scuff will be minimal, because I'm, as you might have seen earlier in the stream, when the connection started dropping out a bit, I did not handle that well. I didn't panic, but I didn't handle it well. So yes, troubleshooting is not my passion. So with any luck, I've at least got basic mastery. That's an oxymoron. A basic mastery. Okay, I kind of know what I'm doing, a little bit. Oh, and as you can see, my lovely model isn't quite done yet. I am still in PNG form, but it won't be too much longer. But I've definitely been making excuses and holding off starting streaming, probably due to mostly anxiety. So this NaNoWriMo project not only will hopefully produce a shareable novel, but it will also, for want of a less harsh word, it will force me into streaming. Basic understanding. That's the word I was... That's it. That's it. You summed it up perfectly. Thank you for that. You'd think, being both a writer and a library, I could do words. Words are my thing. Unfortunately, yes, slow and scatty are two words that summarize me fairly well. Basic understanding. Thank you. I'm very grateful. Yes. This project will force me into streaming. This is me being forced into streaming, and it's something I really want to do, but wouldn't do it because I was too anxious. So, here we are. And I guess I'll figure out pretty quickly if it's a path I want to stay with. I think I touched on this very, very briefly, but I think I'm also hoping that writing live might give me some sort of edge or attraction of sorts. I've seen a few VTubers dabbling with writing lyrics and poetry live, but I haven't seen anyone attempting a novel. Possibly someone has, and I haven't seen, so forgive me if I've forgotten anyone, please forgive me. But I am hoping, assuming I can write live when it comes down to it, that's yet to be seen. But hopefully that's something that might set me apart a little bit and maybe help craft me into someone that might actually be worth sticking around with. One can hope. And, you know, maybe some people might be interested in the writing process and having an insider's view into how someone actually writes a novel. They might get invested in the story and look forward to it when it's released. So hoping lots of things intersect here to produce an outcome that is good. Good outcome. I'd like that. I'd like this to work. It would be lovely and nice and many more actually pretty descriptive words that I know. I promise you I know better words than the ones I am currently using. Lovely, I think you'll find, is one of my main words. Someone should maybe start counting how many times I say lovely in a stream. Okay. Oh yes. First draft. First draft. As I've said, first drafts, really good. So the final version will probably be quite a bit different to what I wind up writing on stream, and therefore, hopefully, reading the final version will be a very different experience to watching the initial version be written. So, yeah, just as it will be a different experience for someone who might read the book without having watched the streams and then maybe go back and have a look out of interest. I can hope there'll be lots of them. Maybe they can watch the streams after the fact, and I am daydreaming and getting out of order and on tangents. Prepare yourselves for tangents. There will be many of them. Okay. Writing live. Yes, with the actual writing process itself, I'm hoping writing live will help me overcome a bit of my perfectionism. So, I won't be able to agonize over paragraphs for hours as I am known to do, because it's boring. Nobody wants to see that. So, with any luck, I'll start moving forward much faster. And just tell me off in the comments if I start going over anything too much. Tangents are the good stuff. In most circumstances, I would agree, but because I'm so scatty when I go off on tangents, I completely forget where I came from. That's why the notes are so good at the moment. I'm able to check where I am, but once I start going noteless, we may be in some trouble. Just be completely lost. That's going to happen so much. So much. Oh dear. Okay. Speaking of that, where am I? Where am I? Yes. This year. It's probably only this year when I actively produced the thought that I'm a bad fit for traditional publishing. And that kind of hurt a lot, but it is true. I write too long and I write too slow. I don't tend to write stories that fit trends or popular niches. I don't even agree with how the traditional publishing world works most of the time, and I definitely wouldn't thrive in that environment. You know, I felt sort of faint just reading someone's tweets about the process of working with their agent and editor. It was just secondhand stress. I felt it. So yes, as I said, leaning towards publishing serially online and then afterwards perhaps releasing independently. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, so I've probably left a lot out, and a lot of my writing life will probably pop up randomly in bits and pieces throughout my streaming existence, but that's where we are now. From the little I've heard, it's best to self-publish these days. Maybe yes, so long as you can handle things like the self-promotion. Definitely a better cut of the royalties when it comes to that. Oh dear. Yes. Okay. As I said, I'm lost. I'm lost again. Where am I? I'm right here. This is where I am. This is where I am. I guess, more than wanting to succeed or, make money, which would be oh so welcome and helpful, but I can't really afford for that to be a priority right now. Well, can't afford creatively for that to be a priority. Is, excuse me, sorry. I just want to share my stories. I want to create characters and worlds that brighten people's days, as ridiculously cheesy as that sounds. I want to write someone's favourite story. I'd like that. What I write won't be everyone's favourite, but it might be someone's. What I write might not be important, but it might be important to someone. It might be important to you, and it would be lovely to find out together. And yes, as I said, monetary gain one day would be lovely, but yeah, family to support, small one. My parents have taken care of me for so long, and I'd love to look after them one day, but, writing is all I can do, and I can't even be sure I'm any good at the moment. Oh dear. But yes, we'll worry more about that later. Not something to worry about right now. Won't worry about that. Cheesy, but a nice wish. Oh yes, there is much cheese in me. Cheesy, cheesy library. Oh dear. No cheese between the pages. I'm telling myself that, not you. I'm pretty sure I'm the only person who would leave cheese between my pages. Blue, that's disgusting. Oh dear. Well, as I said, mostly just want to share my writing right now, for people to read it and enjoy it. I really miss that feeling from the fic, knowing that people were reading, people were looking forward to read it, and people were loving what I was writing. I think someone said, I'm not sure who, if you know who said it and the actual quote, feel free to please let me know. This someone said that to succeed, you don't need millions of followers, you just need 1,000 real fans. And that would be beyond glorious, to have 1,000 real fans. It's kind of unbelievable at this point. 100 fans would be just as incredible. Even just 1 or 2 true fans would be a dream, to tell the truth. Haven't done anything to deserve them right now, but one day I'll have something. Oh, it can be a little upsetting or disheartening to pour absolutely everything into your writing and to post it online and to then have it just disappear into the ocean of content and be all but invisible. I know it was because I couldn't self-promote to save my life. I can barely even use social media in a functional manner. But when I did release those old versions of novels online, or when I published a few ebooks of short stories a long time ago, taking them down now, everything's gone. But I shouldn't have let it get to me, but it did hurt a lot that nobody cared. They had no reason to, so it shouldn't have hurt, but still. 10 people showing up for you already is already something. It is, it's incredible. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for everything. It's so wonderful that you're all here and listening to me ramble in a manner that I hope is mildly entertaining, because I'm going to be in a little bit of trouble if it's not. Yes. I will work on being entertaining. Hopefully I'll get better fairly quickly. Given I'm going to be streaming every day for a while, I don't have much of a choice. I'll get better. I'll be better for you, hopefully. Yes. So I shouldn't have let it get to me, but it did hurt that no one cared. And I guess in some ways no one caring is also reasonably liberating, but not in this situation. I remember hunting through book blogs and sending pleading emails and EPUB files, hoping that someone would read it and review it, and a few people did. And there were reasonably favourable reviews. Generally 3 stars and 4 stars, even one miraculous 5-star, which was pretty amazing. But other than the, ego boosting, nothing much came out of it. But the ego boosting was very welcome. It was lovely. And I know it would be rather ridiculous of me to even want a huge following. I'm not sure I am mentally or emotionally equipped to handle that. However much I dream it would be lovely. Oh dear, if I can't see myself being able to handle traditional publishing, a huge following would be it'd be a challenge. But yes, I don't need a huge following. I don't think I even need to be in the spotlight. But I'd still like to be seen. Yeah. I'd like to be seen. Kind words about your work are always welcome. They definitely are. It just do wonders for your self-esteem, particularly on bad days. I remember a few times when I was still at my office job, getting emails with comments on the fic and just being elated for the rest of the day. It was wonderful. It was wonderful. And how long have we been going? Where are you? Goodness me, I've been talking at you for a very, very long time. Wow. I've probably talked at you enough for one night. Well, anyway, I think that's pretty much first stream just about done. That's amazing. So thank you so much for coming. And, assuming technology favors me, we'll be back tomorrow at the same time where we will kick off the outlining. I've done some preparation for that. As I've said, I've taken a lot of notes. I'd meant to try to get a rough outline together in preparation for the rough outlining stream. But haven't quite gotten there yet. And I probably won't. I'll just run with what I've got. See how it goes. It's probably more fun when it's a bit more spontaneous anyway. Me being spontaneous. That's never been a thing before. I am not a spontaneous library person being. Oh dear. Where am I going? Oh yes, we're finishing. How could I drift off now? Please forgive me. I think I'm tired. Anyway, I should probably go and give my feline child some attention and perhaps have some celebratory chocolate. I do not have anything dairy just before going on stream because I know it messes with my voice. So let's see how that goes. We'll be around when possible. Thank you so much. Please, I don't want to take up any time when it's so precious. Just only if you're interested and you have time. There'll always be the VODs as well, if anyone would like to check those out if they can't make it to live streams. Oh dear, maybe that's another reason why I haven't found a VTuber Oshi, because I guess there's no one where I can just make every stream. I think I prefer to float around. I like to float around and watch whoever I like who's live streaming at the time. If that's who I am for you, that would be beautiful. And you are so welcome here. You're so welcome. And I'm so happy you're here. Again, thank you. Thank you so much for coming and listening to me and giving me and this reasonably ridiculous project your time. Your time is precious, as I said. And I hope, well, I'm usually finishing work around this hour so I can catch some of the stream. That's wonderful. I'll look forward to seeing you when you can make it. But again, no pressure. Please, no pressure. So, thank you for being here at the beginning. This is the beginning. And I hope it is the beginning of something that could maybe be wonderful. I'd like that. So, if I can see any of you tomorrow, that would be a wonderful thing. And I hope you have a wonderful night, morning, afternoon, wherever you are. And now it's time to swap over to my lovely ending screen for the first time. So, before we do that, just for sillies, see you tomorrow. Okay, on to the ending screen. Might just mute that first. Off we go.